Warhammer Online, the home of wargaming.
Well, hello and welcome. Coleman, are you going to say hello to everyone?
Hello, everyone.
Part of that was just testing whether your microphone was working. I was terrified it wasn't going to be the case. Thank you very much for joining us. It's Monday Musing, and I believe it's Monday Musing 55, believe it or not, Mr. Coleman. This is a long way down the road of musing. This is almost, if you were to just sit and watch a Monday Musing show every week, you could go over a year and be happy right now if you were going to go right back to the beginning. Heavens know what those early shows are like, though. Let's catch up with the chat. Let's see what's going off. And really tonight's show is about probably the big Sigmar news. And it doesn't mean we're going to talk for the whole show about this, but we're going to be having a look at some of the things that stand out from us from the Age of Sigmar big FAQ. Is it big? Is it small? What I'm really looking for is people on the chat as well to pass me your comments. What do you think? What have you seen so far? Are you happy? Are you unhappy? Do you mind Holy Within when it comes to your Sylvaneth Wildwoods or not? Let me know. Let me know. Okay, right. Let's catch up with the chat. SF is in there shouting Magnus at me. That's old school chant from way back in the Monday Musings. I've not chanted Magnus for a long time. Coleman's in there. Not only is he in there, he's... Oh, I get it wrong every time. He's over there. But we're going to be calling all sorts of stuff up. If I remember rightly, I think I can do that. And you'll be able to see the big FAQs, and we'll be bringing them up on screen. So Coleman's just there for a moment, really. We also have Daryl Hewitt, almost forgot the time, in a moment of mild panic. The stream is way more important than avoiding setting the stove on fire. I believe Daryl is cooking tonight, so we're going to try and keep this as audible as possible as opposed to visual, because he's just got us plugged into his ear tonight. So this one's for you. Sean Vey says, hello, everyone from Australia, which is amazing to have somebody all the way over at the other side, the proper side of the planet, joining our show. So thank you for joining us from your sunny and warm climes. Martin Dix, hey, Raphael Rios, hello from Philadelphia. Wow, all the way over. Hi from Canada, said David White. Out the bath in time, says Martin Dix. There's this worrying trend of listening to this show from the bath. Or the bath, depending on where you're from. I can't believe we've got people from all, 4 quarters of the world there. That's amazing. Thank you very much for joining us. DJ the Lucky One says, hi all. Ralph is in. I think Ralph is pretty busy tonight, so I don't think we'll get much out of Ralph. But the chat's open, Ralph, so if you want to join in and give us some of your words of wisdom, you can pop up any time. And I believe as well, we might be hearing from Liam at some point as well. Oh, Coleman, type just that little bit quieter, dude. He's really thumping those keys like Mavis Beacon.
I'll put some muslin all over it.
Just relax into them a little bit. Right, Martin Dick says, I've not seen it, to be honest, haha. I just want to catch my favourite YouTube dudes. Thank you very much, Martin. Stuart Noble saying good evening. David White, Sixers always do their cool thing for all now, which is pretty cool. I mean, there's a lot, I think this is the thing about the big FAQ. What we've seen is some of these quite common sense rules that have creeped into more recent battle tomes and more recent reviews have just been spread across. So definition of what we mean by within and wholly within, etc. It's going to make a lot of sense for some of those bubble things. And it really, for instance, I don't know about you, Coleman, I quite like wholly within because I think it stops some of that gaming that takes place where you've got, a unit of 30 strung out in a pencil-thin line all the way across the board, so you can be within, several bubbles of power. So I quite like the Holy Within. I think that kind of makes it more common sense on the table to a degree. Big Mac Danskull, evening all. DJ the Lucky One, not even looked at the FAQ. Well, let's look at them together then. That's okay. We've got an hour, so we can kind of go through these in our own pace. Big Mac Danskull, I'm just toweling off as we speak. Oh, Big Mac. DJ the Lucky One just got out of the shower, dressed now. What is going on? Furious George, New Zealand checking in. Hey, Furious, how you doing, man? Oh, cool meeting you yesterday, says DJ the Lucky One. It was very, very cool, mate. I had a really awesome time. It was good fun. I was kind of jealous of you guys doing the airbrush. So for those of you who don't know what happened, if you remember the giveaway we ran for both premium members and YouTube subscribers, we did a airbrushing workshop at Barwell Bodyworks. And there was 3 places given away on it. Unfortunately, due to timings, only 2 people managed it, but that's okay because there was 5 people in total at the group as well. And we were part filming. Some of that was for Steve for his own stuff that he can use on the website, and we've got the guys were all doing sort of airbrushing, and there was a group of people there. I think some of them owned airbrushes and haven't used them that much. Some of them I'd never picked up an airbrush before, and it was really amazing to see Steve really get people completely on top of the basics. Right, okay then, here we go. Where are we now? A lot of people saying hello. Coleman, yeah, I think Amit's in now, so maybe you can stop banging away on those keys for me. I am a hobby guy, not a rules guy. Would probably talk rubbish. Well, you'd be welcome anyway. And Amit, Amit could always join in. So there you go. We'll see what happens. What we need to do, I think, is to start diving into this FAQ and picking out some of these things. And maybe we should start with our own factions, and then a little bit of a round robin into sort of some of the more broader rules. And then if anybody in the chat wants to have a chat, wants to get involved and bring out their pertinent points for the FAQ, shout up. We'll have a look at those as well. Daryl says, did Jack get a scolding for yawning joining Steve? Steve was actually brilliant. It was quite funny. He was both incredibly warm and friendly and really guiding and brilliant. And at the same time, if he saw you starting to develop a bad habit, and one of his pet hates is scribbling, which is where you kind of scribble with the airbrush sort of thing. He completely stop scribbling, and it was really good. Everyone would jump and go, okay, I'm sorry. It was good fun. There was a lot of laughter throughout the day, so really good fun. Jack didn't get told off for yawning though. He'd had a late night. He was working the night before, so I picked him up from work not far off of midnight, and then made him get up at the crack of dawn to drive up to the airbrush workshop. So I wasn't going to be too hard on him. Right, let's have a look at some of this stuff then, and we'll have a quick introduction to. So, if you do or don't know what the FAQ is about, Games Workshop have been gathering all sorts of information from the community. The end result of that is usually one or two things. One, we will see the FAQ, which has gone live today. And ultimately, I think later in the year, probably somewhere around about June, July, March, probably June, before the sort of big tournament scenes kick off, we will see General's Handbook 2019. I would expect. So what we've got here, really, I think, in this big FAQ, as I mentioned earlier, is just some sort of common sense rulings, I think. And of course, there's a few balance issues being addressed slightly, more to do with kind of limiting the impact of abilities than and to stopping them being layered up, if you like, and piled on top of each other. Yeah, go for it.
Can I butt in with a grumble?
Yeah, go for it. Let's get this grumble in now.
If you scroll back to the top of that page.
Oh, hold on a minute. Let's go right on the actual posting. Yeah, there we go.
We've got those big friendly letters, big FAQ. That's exactly the same wording they keep on using on community posts, on Twitter, on Facebook.
Yep.
Imagine you are a beginner hobbyist, and you keep hearing about the big FAQ. It takes you to the section where there are links
to errata,
of which not a single one is titled FAQ.
We have erratas and we have designer commentaries.
Please, GW, I beg of you, be consistent.
I mean, this is the interesting thing, isn't it?
I get a strong feeling the only person in the entire world who is using the term designer's commentary is the one person who came up with it.
Yeah, probably. I've just realised that I'd turned your microphone right down when you were banging away on the keyboard, so nobody could hear what you were saying. So I've
I'm
just
not
turned
touching
you.
the keyboard.
Well, not now, but while you were touching the keyboards, I'd lowered your microphone and forgot to put you back up again. I knew that would happen the moment I lowered you. So let's recap for those of you who couldn't quite hear you, because you were there, you were just a bit quieter. The point was that it was a point of language. FAQ is used left, right, and centre, and then when you finally get through to this page, you have a link through to erratas and designer commentaries. And for all intents and purposes, the designer's commentary is essentially an FAQ. You see questions and answers. So for all intents and purposes, the FAQ is the designer's commentary. And I think you're just asking an apple to be called an apple, aren't you?
Would it be nice? Wouldn't it be user-friendly?
I've got absolutely. Of course, there is a question mark whether people even understand the term FAQ. You know, it's frequently asked questions, but it's just one of those things where they just kind of expect people to know these things, don't they? Nowadays, it's in their language, and once it's in their own language, then you kind of forget that people may or may not be familiar with it. But
that's it. That's as ranty as I'm gonna get.
I'm cool with that. It's worth saying.
We're done.
We're done. Fire Slayers. I think this is the only common ground we have, Coleman. So why don't we start there? Why don't we have a look at that? And so we've got the errata and the designer's commentary. Yep. Let's pop into the errata. So if you've not looked at one of these before, if it's your first time into these things and you're still playing out of the books, how do you work these things? Well, there's a nice little bit at the beginning. I'm sure you're all familiar with now, but anything highlighted in magenta has essentially been added in this revision. So this is the official errata for December 2018, and we can, if we're familiar with these things, we can more or less ignore everything unless it's in magenta. So for instance, in the last update, one of the big changes that we saw was to the bladed sling shield. Now this is Fire Slayer's ability to throw their sling shield after they've charged, and it used to be that literally every model with a sling shield could then fling its sling shield at the enemy unit, and if you roll a dice for each model essentially, and if you got a 6 it caused a mortal wound. Pretty powerful stuff, but again, because people were stringing units across the table to try and capture an objective at one end of the table and charge a unit at the other end of the table, what they were doing essentially is you'd got a 30-man unit and you were charging, of which 2 or 3 would make contact and all 30 would throw their shields from something like the furthest one back like 48 inches away or something crazy. So they FAQ'd that and said basically you can still throw your shield, but that model has got to be within 8 inch of the enemy unit you're targeting, and you can only target one enemy unit as well. So pick an enemy unit, roll a dice for each model from the charging unit carrying a sling shield. So that was something that was in the last FAQ, but just as an example there of the kind of thing you come across. What have we got here? We've got a change for Fire Slayers. It's a fairly simple one, really. Lords of the Lodge, Hot-Blooded Fury, change 2 at the start of the first battle round. You can declare that you will attempt to seize the initiative. If you do so, roll a dice, and on a 2-up, you take the first turn, even if your opponent finished setting up their army first, and would normally be allowed to choose who has the first turn. I think this is pretty good. Going first with Fire Slayers is never really a bad thing, I don't think, considering you've got the magmic tunneling and all the rest, which enables you to pop up those big 30-man units, and depending on what rune you've enacted, you could either get plus 3 inch to the charge, etc. Is it 4 inch to the charge? I think plus 4 inch to the charge, isn't it?
Yeah, if you build your list around those synergies that almost definitely will give you the charges in the first round, then it is a very, very, very powerful thing. And on a 2+, I mean, you're not taking a lot of risks.
Yeah.
it plays into the army's play style. Um, I like it because it's fluff consistent. Uh, you would expect them to be just off the line and into the fire as soon as it gets straight away, first round into the combat. So
yeah, exactly.
makes
I've
sense.
just
It's not.
gone. Sorry, Colin.
No. It doesn't feel like it's something that's made up and just kind of added artificially. It fits. I like it.
Sure. Looking at the FAQ then. And I'm going to call it the FAQ, although it was titled Designer's Commentary. We have 1.1 question. Can every unit in the Auric Halfguard use the Forge Brevin Bulwark of Molten Stone ability that is within 10 inch of the Runesmiter, or is it a maximum of 1 unit per hero phase? And again, as we're seeing some sort of consistency, it's a maximum of 1 unit essentially per hero phase. And again, makes a lot of sense. We're seeing that now, that limitation of these bubbles aren't so globally powerful. You've got to really think about which unit you want to grant that to. So nothing much really going on the Fire Slayers, unless you take into account some of the more general rules, but not a lot happening. They've been out for some time now. So I think, as you see with these older battle tomes, you're seeing some stabilization on it. There's no revolutionary stuff taking place on the older stuff. I think we've got a little bit more going on with people like Deepkin and stuff like that, which we'll come to.
Yeah, especially here, if you compare it with the previous FAQ, and when all the command abilities were pretty much changed from within range to wholly within range, that made a massive difference to an army that first operates on 30 model units on a day-to-day basis, and they're on 32 mil basis.
Yeah.
So that really changed completely the dynamics of how to play the army.
Yeah, you really do have to think about those big units, because it's not easy to fit that within a small space. It's as simple as that. You try getting a 30 Sylvaneth unit inside a Wildwood, wholly within a Wildwood. It's hard work.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, Dryads are on 32 as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
So that was a big difference. What we're seeing here today is it's just tidying up, really. Little cosmetic changes.
We've got a few people in the chat. DJ the Lucky One saying thanks, that's better. Hopefully everyone can hear Coleman now much better. Amit says, I wonder if the errata is raw and the designer's commentary is raw. No, I think it's just a question of clarifying a few points. I get what you're saying. The rule is intended. Maybe to a degree the commentary is trying to essentially say this is what we intended with that rule, but there is some clarification. I think it's more scenario planning inside the designer's commentary. They're trying to avoid the if I do this, this, and this, and because there isn't a specific word saying I can't, can I get away with it? And what you tend to get in the designer's commentary is, no, you can't. David Ellis said, Sup Pete's Frank Stormers joining as GW has clarified whether both Eva or errata and designer's commentary are competitive play legal. Certainly for their own events, they are always competitive play legal. They sort of state in all of these things that the latest rules, if you like, always supersede the previous ones. So, and they are the ones you go to. And there's very little argument to say, well, I've not seen them, because of course they make these readily available for all across pretty much all of their channels, and they are free. So, and if you have, for instance, the iPad, the iBook versions of the battle tomes, then invariably within a few weeks these FAQs get included into the digital version as well. It's one of the reasons I'm a big fan of the iBook versions. The Painted Goomba Hello, how's it going? I'm fine, thank you, Painted Goomba. Good name. Beastclaw Raiders next, says Martin Dix. Go on then, you've called it, so let's have a look at Beastclaw Raiders. Coleman's going to go into a panic though, because I don't think. How much do you know about Beastclaw Raiders? Luckily, actually, I know a bit, having been.
I know.
Actually, you know what? They've not been updated.
They're not doing it, but yeah, they're not there.
Yeah, so there is nothing new to say on Beastclaw Raiders as of the 23rd of July. So they're clearly quite happy with where they're at with Beastclaw Raiders. So apologies for that.
Yeah, they have been neutered for good.
They're such a good army. They don't need touching anyway.
To be honest, I love that army.
It's such a great army. I love playing against Jack's army.
I absolutely love the lore of the Beastclaw Raiders. I think it's one of the best thought out, the most meaningful. I love it. If I were considering ever another army that is not dwarves, they would be on the shortlist.
Yeah, they're amazing models. They're really good fun to play against. They are really good fun to play. Here we go. We got a few more things. Alt Boy says, great t-shirt, Coleman. A few people saying hello to each other. Elster Nation has just joined us, which means his show is over. And I'm just going to give a quick shout out to Elster Nation. If you check out Elster Nation and Spud, and I'm sure I'll provide links at some point, they are doing a Great British Paint-Off, where they have 60 minutes to paint a model. They have like a guest presenter, if you like that. I think judges it at the end. I've missed the end of the show because I had to come over here to get this live. But they are raising money for the Autism Society, of which I've stuck a donation in. So next week or whenever else the nation says, go along to that show, stick a donation in, or just catch up with the pre-recorded show, to be honest, and then stick something in. It'll be good. So, I don't want light on or off, Coleman. I don't mind either, mate. Lizards, says Raphael. So there you go. Oh, Stormcast, says Ralph. He called that first, but you know what? Let's do Lizards. Let's pop along to Lizards, and we will come to Stormcast, I promise you. What's this nonsense about the Dreadsaurian base size? Well, do you want to talk about that while I bring up the errata for Seraphin?
So, it turns out the Dreadsaurian's got a base. There is a legal base size for it, and it's, what was it, 280 by 210?
Yeah, huge. Correctly. That's a huge base. I don't think there is an official base for that size, is there?
So, basically, nip out to the kitchen, grab a plate.
What's quite frustrating is I created a custom base for Rachel's Dreadsaurian, and I have no idea whether it's anywhere near that size. I'm wondering whether they cheekily measured my base, because I don't think it's far off that, to be honest. When we were at Warhammer World. Elster Nation saying they raised £85 tonight, which is absolutely brilliant. Yay! So well done, guys.
But yeah, on that subject, so we've noticed when we're having a look just before the show, we've noticed there are a small handful of models, Forge World models that were given those massive bases. So there is the Dreadsaurian, there is the Chaos War Mammoth.
The War Mammoth, yeah.
Yeah, on the 280, 210, and Tamukan, the Maggot Lord, on the same size from Tamukan's Horde. I think these were the three I found.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's good that they've specified the base. It's base-to-base measuring in the game, and with no specification.
It is, yes.
People could be balancing it on a 40mm base just under 1 foot. Good luck to them, but
And
you know what.
At the end of the day, I remember there was a little bit of a commotion when that guide was published for the first time, and people getting a little bit in the arms about that's wrong. But GW said it very clearly. I think in that post on the website that this is a guidance. Yes, feel free to use it. Feel for for the TOs also, feel free to use it as a kind of yardstick of what should be expected, but also feel equally happy.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to push
deviate.
on.
So,
Okay,
yeah,
well, I'm going to push on at that point because we've got quite a bit to cover tonight. We've got inside Seraphon then 2 additional points inside the errata. Page 112, Astrolith Bearer, the Saurus Astrolith Bearer, Proud Defiance. Change the rules. Text 2. You can re-roll hits for friendly Seraphon units that are wholly within 12 inch of this model. So again, that's quite a big change. You've got to get that unit entirely within 12 inches. It's possible, but what really, thematically, what that looks like on the table then is this wonderful Astrolith Bearer surrounded by a unit of guard. Just, it even looks thematic. That's why I don't mind those things. It does make sense. You've not just got this tier-shaped bubble off to the left with one model occupying it, counting the unit within. So again, we're seeing wholly within. There's a theme to this. We'll see it across several other ones. Chameleon Skinks when they come in on the ambush. You can't summon a unit and set them up in hiding, basically. You've got to stick them on the table. Again, another common sense thing, just to kind of avoid shenanigans, really. So pretty happy with that. I don't know I don't know whether Seraphon players are happy with that or not, but that's another story. Designer's commentary. We have a couple of pieces in the designer's commentary on Seraphon. If a Ripidactyl rider is summoned after their first hero phase, is the bloat toad still placed on the battlefield? The answer is simply no. So no sticking down your favourite bloat toad. It's not going to happen. Okay, so again, this is tidying up. There is right now nothing that backbreaking. I've seen a couple of other requests. Daughters of Cain was asked for, so I'm going to jump into that. A lot of people congratulating Elster Nation on raising £85 for the autism charity, so absolutely brilliant. Well done, guys. And there's more shows to come as well, which is what's brilliant about that. Let's get into the errata for Daughters of Cain. We have a few little things going off, actually. Marathi, High Oracle of Cain, Worship Through Bloodshed. The same unit cannot be picked to benefit from this command ability more than once per hero phase. Thank goodness. That stops you stacking it up like crazy if you've saved a few command dice up. And Slaughter Queen of Cauldron Blood, again, cannot be picked to benefit from the command ability more than once in the hero phase. So this is really, again, we're seeing just going in there and tidying up some of those things where people had gone, well, it doesn't say I can't stack it, so I'm going to stack it. What else have we got? Inside the FAQ for Daughters of Cain, do any wounds or mortal wounds inflicted on Marathi at the start of the battle round by endless spells, for example, count towards the limit of 3 wounds that can be inflicted on Marathi in the first turn of that round? Can things that heal wounds at the start of the battle round be used to heal wounds on Marathi? And the answer is, quite surprisingly, no to both. So the idea of Marathi being guaranteed to be around for this whole, I think she's 12 wounds, is that right, at the when she's in the ascendant format? I can't quite remember what it is. She's got 6 wounds as the queen. I've got the bit of the model there, so it's 6 wounds when it's at this little size here. Not quite finished model, by the way. And then 12 wounds when she transforms. You double her wounds, but you also double whatever damage she's taken.
Done. Yes.
Yeah, so she's halfway down on her wounds. So the idea of saying, well, she's guaranteed to be around for 4 turns if I transform her, not so much anymore. You could really make a mess of her with some of those endless spells, for instance.
Yep.
So, very interesting. And certainly probably prefer, giving various players, I think, some consideration to how they could deal with Marathi in a more effective manner.
If you've got magic, yeah.
If you've got magic. Not so much good for us. Inside the designer's commentary. Well, I've got magic in a few places.
Well, you've got magic eels.
Yeah. Oh, right. Actually, that was... Sorry, I've jumped back into the designer's commentary thinking I'd still got the FAQ to look at, and I had not. So there you go. Oh, dear. Amit's complaining his Dreadsaurian should be cheaper. I think I've seen a request to say have a look at the Stormcast. If I remember rightly, we've got Grand Alliance Order.
Yes.
Stormcast Eternals. We do have. I wouldn't be surprised. Wow. Nothing. Nothing on the errata. The only magenta word is the word magenta. But let's check out the designer's commentary. See what's going off in there. You know, big FAQ. You've got a problem with FAQ. I've got a problem with the word big.
Yes, that was the other grumble I've dropped.
Does the Hallowed Knight only the faithful ability apply to spells cast by friendly wizards? Yes, it does indeed. Does the Celestian Prime Retribution from on high ability add 2 to the attack characteristics of Galmaraz for each turn that the Celestant Prime remains in reserve? Yes, that is filthy. But wow, I so want a Celestant Prime. Fighting with my Fire Slayers. If I use the Lord Arcanum Cycle of Storm to heal a wound on a model instead of slaying it, what happens to any wounds that remain to be allocated? Continue to allocate them as normal. Cycle of the Storm will not always stop a model from being slain, but will require an extra wound to be inflicted in order to do so. So again, that's actually, I've got to say, I've played a couple of people, and that's pretty much how they've played it. So that feels like a common sense rule again. Nothing too shocking in there. Magenta is Sigmar's safe word, says somebody. Let's jump back up to the top. I just want to have a quick look at
somebody who could have been, who could it be?
Yeah, well, of course, Amit. Of course, it's Amit. Iden of Deepkin. I want to have a quick look at the Iden of Deepkin. This is the my army of 2000 and what year is it next? Is it 19 or 18? The army of 2000. My Age of Sigmar 2019 army is going to be Iden of Deepkin. That's what this is about. I've got into them just as they're no longer fashionable. Which is typical of me. It's why I'm still working on my Fire Slayers. The E4C changed the final paragraph to an Iden of Deepkin army can include up to 2 Gloom Times. This is quite a complex setup, this thing, by the way. After territories have been chosen, but before armies are set up, you can set up a Gloomtide shipwreck anywhere on the battlefield. More than 1 inch for other terrain features, more than 6 inch from another shipwreck, and more than 6 inch from any objective will be located at the start of the first battle round. And the reason they do that is because it gives you such a bonus that if you can sit the shipwreck right underneath an objective, you are in a win-win situation there. So they've gone, not anymore, you can't. If bow players can set up terrain teachers before armies are set up, they must roll off. So if you're up against Sylvan F and I'm trying to bang down a shipwreck and somebody's trying to bang down a forest, we're going to have to roll dice in a good old-fashioned way of sorting out these problems. Other than that, that's what we've got for Iden of Deepkin. I'm kind of happy. I have to say, I kind of expected more, but didn't happen. I'm okay with that. I'm quite happy with how my Iden of Deepkin are looking.
Just like the woods, it is a slight balancing change. It's not game changer. It's rebalancing, and it's done subtly. Again, we've had a little discussion about the woods. You want to move on or leave it for later?
No, that's cool. Yeah. I'm just actually reading David Ellis's point on a previous thing we mentioned. So I'd like to debate that with David because you know the game probably better than most. We'll come back to David's point, but carry on, Coleman. Where were you?
So. Yeah, we can now, the Sylvan of Wildwoods can now be set up no closer than 3 inches to another terrain feature, for example, or a unit. Which is
I was pretty certain it was 3 inch for the unit and 1 inch for terrain.
Well, might have been, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking it was, but
Uh,
according to Jack, maybe not. Maybe I've messed up on that. So what appears to be the only change into the rule is wholly within 24-inch, rather than within 18-inch. I think was the rule, or was it even 15-inch? It was a strange old rule, wasn't it? You know, it's.
I think it was 15. I think it was 15. I've got 15 in my mind, but I thought it was 1 inch from another terrain feature.
I tell you what, hopefully, I've got the iBook here, and hopefully they've not updated the iBooks yet, so that's the first time you'll ever catch me saying that. I also leaned my iPad against my label printer and printed out 6 labels for it's Valdor Gold. Useful. They don't even make that paint anymore, and now I've got 6 labels. I tell you,
However, if we got it all completely wrong and they actually extended the range and not nerfed the deployment, then I don't think I'm going to be that happy.
Right, so Tree Lord, I'm going for the. This is from the Battle Tome, so let's just.
Yeah, go on.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Spirit Path for Tree Lord. No. Impale, Ground Shaking, Stomp. No. Wait, is it Tree Lord or is it Tree Lord Ancient?
Ancient. Because Ancient's got magic.
I would say so. Pick it. No. Here we go. I'm still kind of looking now. Awakening the Wood. It's not that one. Attempt to cast one spell. You know what? It's not even in the Battle Tome, is it? The reason it isn't is because it was added at the last FAQ. General's Handbook. 2018 it was added into the General's Handbook. It's a summoning rule, isn't it, inside the General's Handbook? So I'm going to look for that and come back to that. Hopefully there's somebody in the chat that's even always mentioned that. Let's just jump a little bit out of Idoneth Deepkin and let's go back to the Stormcast, because we have this question from
I found it.
David
I found
Ellis.
it on a wall scroll. It says, on a result of 4 or more, you can set up a Sylvan firewood. Each citadel wood must be placed within 15 inches of the tree or ancient. Yeah, and not within 3 inches of other models. But it doesn't
mention terrain.
Other models, is terrain a model?
Well, the terrain has kind of a war scroll, doesn't it? But maybe. Well, they've clarified it then, basically, haven't they? I'm still thinking the Sylvaneth Wildwoods didn't have the. It was within 1 inch for placing the Sylvaneth Wildwood in general, wasn't it? At the start of the turn, I'm pretty certain. So at the start of the game, I'm sure you only had a 1
let's
inch
move on.
limit.
Let's
move on. We have this Celestant Prime question then, from David, which I'm hoping David will actually help in the answer. So let's just go back to this. Does the Celestant Prime's Retribution from on high ability add 2 to the attack characteristics of Galmaraz for each turn that the Celestant Prime remains in reserve? So David's question was, wait, turn instead of battle round for the Prime? So does that mean he gets +4 attacks if he's away for a whole round? Ouch. Yeah, it looks like they're going to need to FAQ the FAQ, isn't it? I would argue it's actually your turn, but of course it does say turn, and there are 2 turns to every battle round. So, but saying that, you can only leave him in reserve for your round. It's not optional. Sorry, your turn. It's not optional to deploy. So, yeah, whether something counts as reserve when it's also in your opponent's battle turn, if you know what I mean, who knows. Yep, looks like we're going to need an FAQ for the FAQ. But, these things do happen. Frank Storm says, expected the eels to get a nerf. Well, like I say, I think what we've got here is a stopgap before the General's Handbook. And that's really where they're going to collate all the questions around. This is more about standardizing some of the language, standardizing some of the way bubble effects are applied, and it's not about nerfing things as such.
If you look at how recently the feedback's been collected, when they posted on Facebook, give us your suggestion to point changes. It was very
Yeah.
specific.
Yeah,
It wasn't, what would you like to see in the next general handbook? It was, let's talk about points changes.
and I can't see any
guessing-
way that this has been applied.
Yes. So I'm
know.
guessing they might, they're processing that information now or not, but
Yeah.
there might come another post early next year asking, about another aspect, and then all that big feedback, because there were hundreds of comments on those posts, on that post. So then that big feedback would get incorporated into the general handbooks next year. They committed to those FAQs being released twice a year now.
Yeah.
There was a time for one. There were a couple of things that maybe have got raised. They might have been genuinely being asked in for the FAQ to be included in. These, got cleared out. There are some minor changes. There are some clarifications, like the whole within that people will pick up on, like some other stuff. There was, we saw that example of whether you can cast the same spell twice if it's mentioned on 2 different war scrolls.
Yeah.
It's just being a little bit more precise on certain things. But I don't think the FAQ's idea generally now is to bring the big changes.
No,
That's
of course
that's
not.
what the we've got that established cycle now. Obviously,
Yeah.
when it all started a few years back, things were up in the air. Now it's far more structured, and I think they're just gonna now stick to putting things out that say, do what it says on a tin. FAQ is just answering some questions. The handbooks is the big,
Sure.
if needed, book of changes. Yeah.
Sure. Well, back to Iden of Deepkin then. How does High Tide rule work for 2 Iden of Deepkin? Interesting one, of course. If both sides use an ability at the start of a phase, such as High Tide Allegiance ability, the player whose turn it is taking place uses it first, followed by their opponent. So they've clarified that. It makes sense. I'm sure, luckily, I haven't seen 2 Iden of armies fighting each other, but at least there's some clarification there. If I use the Sands of Infinity when a wizard casts Riptide, what happens to the unit I pick to be the target of the spell? Subtract 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by that unit until your hero phase. So again, just clarifying some of the points really on what's going on. Do the Sylvaneth units in an alliance of wood and sea receive the benefits from any enclave the army belongs to? No, is the quick answer to that, with the exception of the Emissary of the Deep command trait. Making, again, more perfect sense. Very little to be said on Iden of Deepkin. There's a whole bunch of stuff in the chat which I'd like to come to. We've got Amit saying, would you prefer the FAQ releases to be more frequent, quarterly in the White Dwarf supplement, or twice yearly? It's an interesting one. I think you're right. As Coleman says, the pace is probably about correct. It gives you a chance to get used to them. Don't forget though, and I'm going to bring this up because the FAQ system is not the FAQ system we are looking for. If you remember rightly, if everybody remembers rightly, when they first announced this section, there was going to be more to this. So it says, the eagle-eyed among you will realise this isn't the Swish FAQ page we demoed back in March of 2017. Our tech priests and engineers are working hard on that, and we hope to bring you a much more interactive FAQ service where you'll be able to submit questions to help contribute to the answers early next year. And now, though, you'll find everything you need here. So there is an admission from their own point. They didn't quite get the FAQ system that they were sort of hoping to run, which was meant to be more interactive, was meant to be able to make you regular submissions. And one would almost argue, I think they kind of inferred that there would be regular rulings. So if you dropped a question in and it was clear that, for instance, wanting clarification around what we've just found, then there was a quick response mechanism within this, almost like a forum. We've not seen that. It's still very much publishing documents. If that's what it is, then I'm quite happy with the timescale as it stands. I accidentally brought my desk up then on camera. Luckily, it's fairly tidy, except for chapter approved. Right, Ralph Hummel's going to bed. He's just simply had enough. I tell you what, at 1:45, let's go along to some of the basic stuff. Let's pop along to the General's Handbook, because we might see something more inside this, or not, as the case may be.
There's not much. There's not much.
There's not much. So here we go. We have one thing for the General's Handbook. Iron Jaws, Mighty Destroyers. Add to the end of the rules. You cannot pick the same unit to benefit from this ability more than once per hero phase. So there you go. That's it. That's all. That's it. That's your lot. That's as big as it gets. Let's go along to the Designer's Commentary / FAQ. We've got a couple of bits in here. Slan. Can a Slan General convert more than one spell into a conjuration point for each of its hero phases? And quite simply put, the answer is yes. That was always my understanding anyway. That's I've not seen anybody play it different to that. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, because the whole point was don't cast anything and you get 3 spells. Sorry, you get 3 conjuration points or more, isn't it? Okay, so wow. I think Liam may have just joined us.
Yeah.
Is he there? Is he alive?
Yes. I
almost did bring him up. No, he's not there. Look. Hold on a second. There you go. I think I can bring him up. You're just going to have to give me a second. Hold on. How about that? There you go. Liam, how you doing, mate? Nice one. I don't think Liam's sound is working, is he? Let's leave him there for a minute. He may join us shortly. He's looking pretty puzzled. We can live with that. Let's move on to the... where else do we need to look at?
Core rules. Do we want to have a quick scan through the core
So we've
rules?
got the Sigmar core rules and base sizes, and we've also got the Warhammer Age of Sigmar core book. So let's go for the core book to start with. We do have an errata on the core book. Some fairly straightforward stuff in here. Liam, if you can hear us, just shout up when you finally make it into the chat there. Realm of Battle, Uglu, Realmscape features Shadow Realm. Add the following sentences. The unit may not move in the subsequent movement phase. Does anybody remember what that is actually referencing? Shall I try and... Oh, for heaven's sakes, I've just opened up the 40k rulebook. That's never going to work, is it? So I will just attempt to get the core book up, and we'll have a quick look at what that is. Liam's joined the call again. That's nice of him. I think I can hear some noise now. Liam? Nope. Okay, let's... the core book. This is what we're into. Page 260. So let's see what happens when I do 260 on the digital version, which isn't forced to be the same. But it is indeed. And what have we got here? We've got the Realmscape features Shadow Realm. Shadow Realm. So originally it was at the start of your hero phase, pick one friendly unit that has all of its models within 6 inches of the edge of any battlefield, and you can remove that unit from the battlefield and then set it more than 9 inches from enemy units. With all models within 6 inches of a different edge of the battlefield. Then roll a dice for each model you moved. On a 1, the model being rolled for becomes lost in the shadow and is slain. So all they're really doing then is clarifying that if you essentially teleport a unit from that's close to the edge, from one edge of the battlefield to the other edge of the battlefield, that constitutes as its move. Makes sense, because deploying more than 9 inches away from an enemy unit and then having the option to move towards them is contrary to every other application of that
Again,
rule,
it's
so.
consistent. It's consistent
Yeah.
with all the deep strike and teleport rules. So yeah.
Okay, gonna see if we can just see if I can see Liam.
I can see Liam.
We just can't hear him, and we're not sure he can hear us. He's waving at least. Hey Liam, how you doing, mate?
I think he can hear us.
Okay, well that's good. We're going to leave him there and he might join in at some point. He could be messaging me, but of course I can't read my messages and run a show at the same time. Did Nighthaunt get much of an update as one of the more recent armies, says Amit. Well, let's pop along to Nighthaunt. They are there. Guess what? We only have a designer's commentary, so I think we know which way this is going. There's not a lot of magenta in there. Scroll down. For the purposes of deathless spirits, if a model is within 12 inch of my general or a friendly hero, do I roll 1 dice to negate the wound or mortal wound, or 1 dice per friendly hero within 12 inches of the model? What are you going to go with, Coleman? I'm going to let you call the answer on this one.
Are you asking me whether that's a big change?
No, I'm asking you. I've not said what the change is yet. Do you think you'd be allowed to roll a dice for every hero within 12 inch of the model to negate a mortal wound? Or just one of them?
One.
Yep. That's pretty much the standard answer to everything, isn't it? And that's as soon as somebody says, "Can I stack a whole bunch of stuff on top of each other?" the answer usually is no.
Nope.
No, you can't do that. So there you go.
No, I was just because we were talking about now, and I had a quick look at the Legions of Nagash changes.
Okay.
Which actually there are
There's
two
a few.
lines added. Two lines added. So
The Guardian of Souls with the Mortality Glass, and the Guardian of Soul with the
Guardian of
Night
Souls
Lantern.
with Night and Lantern.
Which makes sense. They're two very beautiful models that belong in every Legion of the Gash force.
So I think we again see certain pattern. The latest battle tomes don't get a lot of things adjusted.
And what have we got here? Oh, we've already done the Deathless Minion thing, haven't we? So there you go. Job done. Oh, wait. There's a couple at the bottom. This is the Legion of the Gash, of course. Is the Coven Throne treated as a mount? Yes. Handmaidens and the Spectral Host are treated as mounts for rule purposes. Can I use a new model for the Nighthaunt Black Coach to represent the Legion Black Coach? Only if your opponent agrees to let you use it as a proxy model. There you go. So just some calls. It's a huge model. It's absolutely beautiful, that model as well, isn't it? Right. What have we got? I can only see and hear Gotek. Well, we can't hear. Well, I can see. Oh, he's gone. Has he gone? He's gone, has he?
I think he's
bless him. Bless him, Liam. Try joining again just for the hell of it. You never know. I think last time that happened, I had to leave the chat and go back, which is highly dangerous, isn't it? If I was to attempt that during a live show and lose all of you. We've got 8 minutes to go. We've got 8 minutes to go. I think we've not covered every single battle tome, but I think we've covered very much the general gist of what goes off within these FAQs. We've got things about War Scrolls and Allegiance abilities take precedence over core rules. This is a designer's commentary now on the core rules, and this allows you to do things that would normally not be allowed in the case of Lord Croak, etc., etc. Weirdly enough, though, they only made one part of that magenta, like one sentence of that magenta. Yeah. So obviously go for it.
Can I just make my stupid call? There's for those of you who might have already have a look at what's there. There is one big omission. There's not a single document, not a single change to Kharadron Overlords. One of the most broken armies currently in the game.
Do you mean broken? Do you mean broken or underpointed, or what's the general?
I would say messed up, because nothing, hardly anything is now as it was on the release day. There are so many points changes, so many war score changes that I won't be saying that the army is broken game wise, because it can work if you know how to play that. It can work, but there has been it has been a fairly tumultuous release. That that faction, and the fact that there's nothing, absolutely nothing on the KO in that release now, I might be absolutely, completely, totally wrong, and I will eat those words, but maybe that means there's a battle don't change coming.
Oh, Coleman called it. If that happens in the next few weeks, I just think they came up short. Slippy Tiger says, wow, that's really big, to be honest. GW saying some old Finecast model is official and the shiny new is a proxy. Yeah, it is actually. It's either a hint that there's a new one coming, or it's just, well, they're so different, you do need to check with your opponent. Did any of the Age of Sigmar Forge World minis, e.g. Monster Legions of Azor, get Monsters and Legions of Azor get updated? I haven't seen anything. Let's just go through quickly. The Warhammer Age of Sigmar Malign Sorceries, no, is the answer. So just to give you the full list, we have the Age of Sigmar core rules and base size. We have the General's Handbook. We have the core book, which of course is the full rule book. We have Grand Allegiance Order, Iden of Deepkin, Battle Tome Nighthaunt, Stormcast Eternals, Grand Alliance, Chaos, Battle Tome Legions of Nagash, Ironjaws, Sigmar, the Firestorm campaign book has had an update, and if I remember rightly, that wasn't that great. Fire Slayers and Sylvaneth Seraphon Daughters and Malign Sorcery. That is your full list of everything which was in the big FAQ. And you know what? Considering they've done so many things, albeit small changes on all of them, there was a lot of words there, which I had to say. I am just going to quickly pop along to the Season of War Firestorm, because there was a bunch of changes into this. Into choosing your allegiance, you apply the core rule. Season of War City Warlord armies. Change the third and fourth paragraph to when you organise your collection from a specific city under the command of a specific warlord. You must use the Grand Alliance allegiance abilities for your army, etc. So again, they're just tidying up some of the rules, of course, for the it was a campaign back of which Jack actually wants to play at some point. So you never know, you might actually see that featured at some point on the channel as well. What else have we got in there? I mean, did any of the... We've covered that one. Coleman, I was amazed by that too. Oh no. I don't know whether that's my joke. Legions of Azor are a relatively new PDF battle tome on Forge World, but Forge World have their own FAQs, so there you go. Sorry about that. Steve Forrest is just joining us. Hello, Steve. How are you, sir? And don't feel the troll. Where are we now? We are 3 minutes to. I think we've probably done a good hour on that. And I think that's about appropriate amount of time to cover the FAQs, because whilst a few things are going to have relatively minor impacts on the game, nothing in there has just turned the game on its head, and we will wait patiently for the General's Handbook 2019.
I think that's the main thing to take out of it.
Yeah,
it's a tweak. It's a tweak. It's getting things more precise, getting some things worded more clearly. There are some changes to play style of some armies, like that Fire Slayers change, but they're not game changing. They just kind of more streamlining things.
Yes, absolutely. I do want to just quickly mention a couple of things actually before we call it a night. So just on the 40k side, for the 40k fans out there, and I know there's a few of you out there, so fantastic news. We've seen the announcement of an animated series. Just bringing this up now, so if you haven't seen this, do check it out. This is by the guys or people, I don't know how many was behind the unofficial fan-based one, which was called somewhere down here they mention it, crikey. Someone will help this out now. Black Libraries authors. Hell's Reach. So it was called Hell's Reach. If you haven't seen it, it's kind of a 3D rendered but sketchy thing, done in that sort of drawing, sketchy style. Very cool, really enjoyable. They've basically, GW have now teamed up with them, and they're going to make an official animation. And these short sequences we've seen within this video, whoa, I think I'm just going to change that down. If you haven't seen this, you definitely need to check this out, because it's just absolutely stunning. Loving all that lot. So there you go. Do go check that out, because it's very, very cool. And other than that, what else was there? I think that's probably it.
Can I just call one thing that just remembered?
Yeah.
It won't be long. But I remember seeing it as it was unveiling on Twitter, and there was a post this week on the community website. There was this wonderful initiative from Wargaming Warhammer community in the States, where they've organised a big fundraiser for the fire service who were fighting the recent big forest fires in California.
California.
And, it's just such a wonderful thing to come out from. We are a bit seen, I guess, as nerds and closed in our little world, and that's not true. And this is just such a wonderful story where something very positive comes out of the community that might have sometimes been portrayed or seen as inclusive and detached from the real world. So yeah, wonderful stuff. Great job.
And they're doing an event which is Hang Out and Paint for Charity. I've actually brought it up on screen. So
yeah,
this is in January, is that correct? Yes, on the Twitch channel. So there's going to be a bunch of the pro painters essentially painting up a hero selected by affected hobbyists to accompany their new army. Absolutely brilliant. And yeah, absolutely get on Twitch, support this. And it is very cool to see some broader corporate social responsibility from GW as well. There was also, I think recently, I think in the Space Wolves book, isn't there, the naming of one of the characters, Brand, after that young chap who tragically passed away at the start of the year. So I think it was the start of the year. Apologies if I've got the dates wrong. And they named a Space Wolf character after him because he was a huge Space Wolf fan, and a whole bunch of people in the community had clubbed together and done all sorts of things as well. But unfortunately, the young Space Wolf didn't make it, which is tragic, and feel for his family and all the rest. But it's lovely that GW have at least immortalised his name in some way. So very, very nice to see a human side of Games Workshop as well. Right, okay. Well, it's lovely to see, especially this time of year as well, that they're thinking about other people and getting us all to think about other people. And on that note, I will mention, of course, Ulster Nation and the Wargamer Vikings efforts to raise money for autism charities as well. So do check out their YouTube video as well. And Ulster Nation will then stick a link up or something, or go along to the Facebook page, and Ulster Nation will definitely stick a link up there so you guys can check it out. I think they're doing it as a weekly thing, which is where they are painting a model in 60 minutes all the time. People can donate, and it's kind of the Great British Paint Off is what they're doing. So do check that out as well. It was good fun. I tuned in for the first half hour. It's quite funny to see Ulster Nation, who can paint and talk simultaneously, but poor old Spud just going into some kind of painting toxic shock as he tried to paint and talk, and under the pressure of keeping up with we all know Ulster Nation can paint at a hell of a pace. So there we go. Let's call it a night at that. And where are we? Is it Christmas next Monday? Are we that close to Christmas? I think it's Christmas Eve.
We are.
So there might not be a show on Christmas Eve.
It's Christmas Eve on Monday, and I shall be absent.
You'll be absent. Well, I might be as well. We'll see. I might do a short show. It depends how much we've got on at that point. There is definitely going to be a bunch of stuff over Christmas, though, so fear not. We've got a whole bunch of content lined up, Speed Freaks games and all sorts, and a bit of a live show as well. So lots of fun for everyone, and we'll see you again soon. So good night to all, and if I don't see you before Christmas, have a fantastic Christmas, seasonal greetings, all the rest, and we'll see you again soon. Bye then. Oh, and thanks to Coleman. Cheers, Coleman.
Pleasure. Thank you. Cheers.